Hello friends, it's been a while. I'm Suki the Brown-Eyed Stitcher, and we're not floss tubing today, but it's been like 6 months since I've filmed, and I just let's catch everybody up on what's going on. If you've found me on Facebook, you probably know what's going on because I write everything out there as it's happening. And occasionally I get something out on Instagram, and then YouTube has been last. It's just hard right now. Let's get to that. I am diamond painting while we're doing this. Maybe. I don't know if I will. Or if I'll just talk to you guys, but I've been working on it, and here we go. I'm just gonna move the camera. We're not gonna do any editing, I'm sorry, but I'll show you what I'm working on. I'm sorry, I don't want to make anybody sick, but here we go. Look how sparkly it is. I love this. It is a Forever Young product. I wanted to try tray storage, and I loved that this came in a box that it can stay in, and I can put all my whatever this is called in there, and so I'm able to just like open them and have them out like this. It's nice. Oh, sorry, I put my hand over the camera. There we go. Okay, so y'all have seen me through a lot, so I'm not real concerned about having to explain a lot of things. I'm gonna start by saying that I am on medication. There was a bit last summer when I wasn't, but I've been on my medication since then. And I don't think there's ever going to be a time that I'm off of this. It is, I mean, I hope I don't ever have to go off of it anyway. Because what it does for me, it gives me like enough of a boost where like my emotions don't like bottom out and then stay there, unmanageable. And I've never had that in my lifetime. Like if ever something like hard or sad or bad happened or anything like that, like it always affected me a lot. And I mean just emotionally, it was like something probably shouldn't feel this bad, but like it feels really bad, you know. And especially over the last 5 years since my burnout and everything that's happened, it's been a challenge. You've seen me off medication in low times, very low times. So I do want to start there saying that I'm on my medication, and it helps the challenges just be a challenge that I can work with rather than something I am also trying to deal with, like low, deep, really low, dark mental and emotional state. So emotionally there, I'm doing very well, but mentally it's a challenge right now. So if I lose words, not the first time you guys have seen me there. Gosh. That is where I am right now. And if I lose my train of thought or forget what I'm talking about, or the timeline's really weird as I catch you guys up, it is what it is. What is this? So anyway, let's see here. So in summary, life has not settled down one bit. So I moved last year, been trying to move. I'm still trying to move, guys. I lived in Virginia and I bought a house at the end of April, the last day of April, in Maine. I moved away from my house in Virginia the end of May. And then the moving company was a whole fiasco that I think they delivered in August because Kaylin was out of state during that time. So somewhere in like the middle to late end of August was when the moving company finally delivered. Funny thing to just wrap up that moving company. They're completely out of business at this point. And yeah. So there's that. And then let's see, the dance year started in September, but the dogs came with me to the house, but the cats stayed at Stephen, my boyfriend, who lives in New Hampshire. Okay. The cats stayed at his house because they're very old and I didn't want to change their surroundings so much to a place that was not established yet. I didn't want them to feel upset and then pee in moving boxes, and then I have a whole thing that would I discover it? At what point would I discover this? And it was just a lot of stress for me to think about that, and I didn't want the stress to carry over into them. So the cats stayed at Stephen's. I have received a few questions like, if I moved to be closer to him, why did I still move so far away? The answer being, he lives in a not very populated area. New England in general, there's a lot of not very populated places in the New England area, and it lends to its very, very gorgeousness. But where he specifically lives is one of those places. He doesn't live in a neighborhood. He doesn't live in he's out in the, I guess you call it a countryside. I don't know that we call it countryside in New England. I don't know. But he lives rural, but not farmland. Anyway. And the other factor being housing prices in New England is higher than where I was coming from. And I wanted to reduce the mortgage so that the rest of my money could just work better. So I had a price point that I was working with, and I looked anywhere within 2 hours of him, like an entire circle. So that was mostly New Hampshire, Maine, and a little bit of Vermont actually covered into there. And this just happened to be where a house was that was within my price range, that wasn't in terrible condition, and would work with having cats and dogs. So I had a lot of limitations. Anyway, yeah, there's that. I think I answered those questions in the comments or messages whenever I received them, but some others of you might have also wondered the same thing. So moving company, yes, finished that. So the cats have always been at Stevens, and the dogs were coming back and forth. And I didn't have laundry at my place. And I also didn't have, for a while, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot. Okay, so you don't know any of this stuff yet. So I discovered when I moved in, the fridge didn't work. It would turn on, but it wasn't cooling at all, so I had to replace the fridge. That got delivered, I think, in October. So for all of September and into October, it was like a week before Halloween when I finally got to this point. And here's why it took so long, is because I was trying to unpack the house, and the way the spacing and the doorways all were, I had to make it to where there was a path line from not the front door, but from the other door into the kitchen, and it was a challenge. There was a lot of things. There were so many things that were a challenge that just just kept happening. Like, it didn't stop with the moving company. Things just kept happening. So the refrigerator didn't work. Anyway, so it gets delivered early, not early October, but like mid, right? Yeah, week before Halloween-ish. And so up to that point, the only foods that we could eat had to be microwavable or not microwavable at all, because we also didn't have a stove at that time. We had one, but it ran off of propane gas, and I didn't have that running yet. The tank had been empty. So that's what we did. We ate like that. And then on the weekends, because we wanted cooked food sometimes, or refrigerated foods sometimes, and we needed to do laundry and shower. No, we could shower. We had hot water. That was another thing I had to get fixed, because the hot water didn't work, but I caught that before I had moved in. So that had kind of been resolved. So over the weekends, we would go back to New Hampshire. I could see the pets, I could spend time with them, obviously see Steven, and just take care of animal things, take care of laundry things, take care of food things, and then we'd come back. It's about a little under 2-hour drive between our two houses, and the drive isn't bad. It actually has come to feel quite normal of a drive right now, which I suppose is a good thing, because I haven't stopped making it yet on a very regular basis. So then I just spent a lot of time figuring out, unpacking where things needed to go, how to have storage solutions for this new space, for what we've had available to us, and just trying to calm my stress reactions down from the moving stuff. And what else? There were things that still happened in there. We did have a form of heat during that time, because we had like heat pumps, like these wall units. Well, we really only had one. We had one in the living room, and we had one in the basement, which took me a while to figure out, because I couldn't get it to turn on, and then I finally figured that one out. But that was pretty much it. There was an electric fireplace, but it was installed badly. Not surprising. It was installed badly and wasn't really helpful. Plus, electricity is expensive. And so if it's not going to be very effective, I didn't really want to run it. It was already expensive enough using the heat pump stuff because that was also running off electricity. And because it was up like up here, heat doesn't come down. So it was a challenge, but I did finally get propane set up and taken care of. October or November, I can't remember, and I had them like check the lines and stuff for any problems, and that got taken care of. So then I had this propane heater that was like a fireplace style, so it did have like a pilot light and a burner, like an open flame, which meant anytime I left the house I needed to have that turned off. So it was very effective at heating up everything. There was only one of those, but it was pretty central to the downstairs. So it was getting everywhere, and it was very effective and helped out a lot. We also got curtains to kind of block off the upstairs so that we weren't heating up an entire house that we weren't using. And that was the heating situation. There was like baseboard heating, forced hot water baseboard heating system, something like that, in the house. But before I had bought the place, the water boiler furnace thing had broken, so that system couldn't be used, nor were the baseboard heaters in very good condition either. And that's why we weren't living in the upstairs. We were all in the downstairs, and figuring out how to live, not just in a, like, this is what was crazy to me, is that I was downsizing into this house. My house in Virginia was like 2,100, 2,200 square feet, something like that. And this house is like 20 or 1,250-ish square feet. But when you're only living down in half of it, like, you're talking 600, maybe 700 square feet. And that is quite different to go to from like 2,200 to 600. And so it was a bit of a challenge, like, working with everything. And so, but I finally did. Things were feeling in a pretty good place by the end of November, like kind of Thanksgiving into early December. But then early December was really crazy because the dance studio here, they perform in December and then at the end of the year. And it's fun. They have like, it's always show like there's always a story and a theme. So the December one this year was a version of Nutcracker, but like, it wasn't all ballet. It was like all the classes from the studio, and so you had all of these different styles going along in the storyline. It was very cool. But anytime you're getting ready for a show of any kind, it's just, there was a lot more rehearsals. You can't miss any classes. You have costumes coming in. You've just got, it's a different kind of busy than just like your regular classes. And so we were just starting to maybe feel like we could settle in. There were some other things that happened during this whole time, right? The refrigerator got delivered, and then that same day I was driving Kaylin to dance class and got a flat tire, and the flat tire caused me to have to replace all 4 tires. So there was that. And I honestly can't remember if there were other things that happened because, oh, there were. We discovered that showering brought up like these brown spots on the ceiling, and it turned out that it was like cigarette smoke that absorbed into it, and then the condensation and all the moisture and everything from the shower was leaching it out. And so I had to mop the ceiling every time, and then I had to figure out if the bathroom was even vented to the outside, and it was, but there was like debris in the way on the outside, so it wasn't very effective or efficient. And there were bug problems and rodent problems. Like I have a pest and rodent guy now who's not cheap, but I guess it's only a couple times a year, so it's okay. But he came and he got rid of, like, the spiders were coming into my house, and they're like big spiders, and not okay. Just not okay. Like, they were in the shower and in the sink and like running around underneath beds. Like, we were not okay with this. Anyway, so we got the spiders taken care of, and he like de-webbed the entire basement, which was just worth every penny that I paid him. And then there had been rodent traps already there, and not just like poison packets around, but like actual bait boxes, which are like these black boxes, and there's only one outside, but it's like pest control people are the ones who have the keys. It's not the owners. And they come and you unlock it, and then they refill it with the bait, and then you can tell if the bait is gone easily. Like, you can shake the box and hear whether or not there's stuff in there, and if the bait's gone, it means you have rodent activity. Anyway, so he refilled that. He put stuff around in like the basement, and yeah. So we got those spiders and stuff taken care of. We take care of flat tires. We took care of a working fridge. We got the propane taken care of, and trying to just unpack and dance and my pets. Yeah. So the show happened. It was a ton of fun to watch. It was the first time that I had ever seen Kaylin on stage while I was in the audience, because previously I always performed in the same shows that she was, and I was always backstage. But this, in December, my adult dance class didn't perform. It was, there was no need or time, but we are performing in the spring one, so there's that. So I got to sit in the audience and watch, and it was emotional to be there, to just be able to see that, and for the first time, it was good. And then, so that was, and her birthday was right there. It was the week of all of this. So her birthday, and then the performances, and then, and her dad came out. So Kaylin's dad moved also in November away from Virginia, and he actually went to Arizona. So he traveled in for her performance, and then we gave Kaylin a couple like down days afterwards, because it was like 3 performances in 2 days, plus the week of dress rehearsals beforehand. So by Sunday night, we were all tired. And she wanted Monday to be like, I don't do anything, and then Tuesday was for packing, and then they left Wednesday, very, very early Wednesday morning. And then she was gone until just after New Year's. It was like January 2nd or 3rd. Just because that was like cheapest options, you know? And then I went to spend Christmas break at Stevens. So all the animals were together. I was there, and before I left, obviously, remember the heating situation, okay? So I can monitor the temperature of the 2 wall units from anywhere, and I can operate them remotely. I can't do anything about the propane. I'm not there. I'm not leaving an open flame on. It's going off completely, but I could have the heat pumps on and monitor the temperatures so that I can watch the heat in my house in this New England winter. And I did that. And I watched anytime it got really cold outside. I kept watch even closer to know if I needed to turn them up. It was great. It was great up until right around New Year's. I got a text from my power company. It was an automated message saying, like, they'll send me a message when my usage is suddenly high or suddenly low. And it's like, hey, your usage over the last couple days is super high. Like, super high. And I'm like, there's nobody there. There's no reason. There's, like, my refrigerator is running and those heat pumps are running. Nothing else is drawing electricity. There should be, like, what is going on? And I contacted my neighbor across the street and I was like, hey, have you seen anybody, like, I don't know, being weird around my property or anything? And they're like, no, it's just been. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm coming back soon. It was like 1 or 2 days later that I was coming back. And I was like, I guess I'll find out what's going on. And I was bringing home my cats this time. So the day comes, it's a Friday or a Saturday. Can't remember. No, it was a Friday. It was a Friday. And I packed up my car. I was very proud of this. I was prepared for having all 4 animals in there and all their things and my things, and it fit just perfectly. And I was going to be able to go to the house and unload the pets and get them all settled in, and then go and get Caitlin from the airport. And then we'd have the weekend, and then dance would start up. I'd get to my house and I'm like, still wondering, like, what is going on with all of this. So I go in first. I leave all the animals in the car. I go in. I open my door and it is pouring water through the ceiling. Pouring, like gushing. And it's hard to have words for that experience. And I called Steven, but he was working. That's how I know it was a Friday, not Saturday. And he was in a client house. He couldn't answer his phone. And I called my mom. And I was bawling. Like, that's just how emotions go. It was like this very sudden burst of, like, guys, I was coming off of this 2-week break, like, okay, maybe things will settle down now. Like, the house is mostly unpacked as far as it can be right now. Like, we've taken care of like the propane, we have heat, right? We've got cooking abilities, we've got a functional bathroom, brand new tires on the car. Like, things can calm down now. And I was coming off of this like I had just barely started doing any kind of stitching again, honestly. It took me a while to feel mentally ready for so many things. And I was coming off of it and I was like, I'm gonna film soon, like in a midweek or whatever, the next week I was gonna film and post for you guys. Okay, obviously that didn't happen because now my house is absolutely flooded. And you guys, I even had looked right when I was leaving my house. I had my dogs in the car when I was leaving my house for this 2-week break. I looked for the water shutoff valve. I was like, I know I'm going to be watching the heat while I'm gone, or the house temperature, but let's see if I can just turn off the water to the house. I could not find that stupid shutoff valve for the house water at all. And I had the dogs outside, and it was like the last thing I was trying to do to like then get on the road, and couldn't find it. And I was not even surprised that I couldn't find it because this house is, yes. So, yeah, couldn't find the shutoff valve. So I'm here and water is pouring through the ceiling. Everything here is wet, but I didn't actually lose a lot of stuff. I'm going to say that right now. The way a lot of the floors were sloping, a lot of my things were protected, and it was pouring down in a room that I had ready for my pets. It was, the way my house is set up is like there is a center room. I'm going to call it the dining room, but we're not using it as a dining room. But it's like, it's central to all of the downstairs. Like the kitchen is on one side, and then like the living room is on the other side. And then the hallway and the basement also branch off of this room, and that's where the water was pouring down. And so because it was like this central room, I didn't want a lot of things in there, so it became where I could feed my dogs. I would be able to feed my cats. I had just gotten a litter robot because having cats in a small space, it was going to be the best option for the litter box situation. And I had just gotten it as part of Black Friday, so hadn't even had a chance to use it yet. That sucker was filled with water because that's the room that the water was filled in, was coming down in. So bonus, it was not bonus, but like the good news is that water was coming down in a place where there wasn't a lot of things. Like it didn't have our clothes, it didn't have our books, it didn't have the crafting stuff, right? It had pet things, mostly. It had some shoes, but pet things. And then because the floors weren't totally even, it didn't spread out tons. It did spread out enough, though, to where flooring was a problem, but also the ceiling was where it was tin, and so until it found the weak point to come through, it spread out. And so let me just leave that what's damaged. Let's leave the damaged part for us for a hot second. So I'm on the phone with my mom, and she's like, I can't understand you, because I'm like sobbing and bawling and gasping out words and like panicked, at utter panic, like, and she was like, call your water utility and get them to shut it off. They can shut it off at the curb. And she even looked up the number for me and sent it to me. So I call them, and they're actually located. So the roads at my house is like a T, and I live in a corner of them, one of the corners. My neighbor's across the street in the other corner, and then over here on the straight road is the water company. And so they were literally right there, and they did have to drive their truck over for, like, you know, whatever tools or whatever they maybe needed. So they didn't just walk over, they drove over, but it was kind of funny just because they did that. So they came over and got it shut off at the curb, and they were going to see about shutting it off inside, but couldn't because the electricity was on and the basement was flooded a lot. And it flooded the water heater, so it was connecting. It made it a very dangerous situation. Nobody could go there. But I was still like, I wasn't yet under control of myself, and they called the fire department for me, and I'm not getting anywhere on this diamond painting, which is totally fine. That's not like the purpose of what I'm doing right now. They called the fire department for me, and the fire department came out, and it was the fire chief and several workers who came, and they called the electric company so that the power could get turned off. They could start pumping water out of the house, but they couldn't work in the basement until the power company had done their thing. So someone from the power company came out and pulled the meter from the side of the house. So electricity comes from the street into the meter, and then the meter, or the electricity comes out of the meter and goes into the house. So they pulled that face, which broke that connection. Electricity was still coming to that place, but it couldn't go anywhere because the meter face was gone. And actually, I don't even know where the meter face is anymore because it got packed up in a lot of things and is somewhere in my garage. I don't know. So that's a thing for them to figure out when the time comes. But and the fire department were there for like 2.5 hours maybe, pumping out the water from my basement. Y'all, it was 3.5 feet deep in the basement. Yeah. So during that time, I also have my dogs out of the car. They're attached to me. We are like hanging out in the driveway this whole time. Some of the fire department folks said hi to the dogs, and Elisar was thrilled to have anybody paying attention to her during all of this. And the cats, oh my gosh, the poor cats, they're just inside my car, in the carrier, in the car. And I just left them in there, and I kept the door closed. I was like, it is it was like maybe 34 degrees Fahrenheit at the time. And luckily it wasn't windy or anything, but I was like, if I'm not going to keep opening doors because that's just going to make the inside of the car even colder. But I needed to be out dealing with all of this stuff. So let's see. The fire department, the fire chief had me call I called like a water mitigation company. They would need to come out to get it like started drying or whatever, and they actually got there just about the time the fire department finished. It was also right around the time I had to leave to go get Kaylin from the airport. I also contacted my insurance company along the way, and so like all of these processes were starting to happen in like this 4-hour period that I was there, just like standing outside. And at this time of year, like the sun sets at like 4 o'clock, guys. And so it was starting to get cold by the time I had to leave, very cold. And I had to figure out, I couldn't do anything until like the fire department was kind of done, but then I was like, there's no room for Kaylin and her things in this car when I still have all the pets and I have everything. And then I also had to figure out, like, what are we gonna do? Like, what is my living situation going to be in this next little bit? And I'm like, well, it's a weekend, I'm going back to Stevens. We don't have dance over the weekend. I'm just gonna pick up Kaylin and we're all going back to New Hampshire. And but I had to resituate, like I had to take out some stuff from my car in order to be able to fit Kaylin and her things in, and the cats and the dogs and the pet supplies. And we made it work. We got everything to fit snugly, but we made it fit. It was only going to be an hour between the airport back to Stevens, so everyone could be cramped just fine for that long. And we went back to Stevens, and the dogs and the cats have stayed there since. And so half the week right now, they're just there. Steven's taking care of them. And yeah, because it would just be too hard to keep the dogs with me at this point. And they're doing fine. It's the best situation for everybody right now is, and yes, I say right now, this is now March, and I'm not living in my house because it is unlivable. And will be for several more months. Months, yes, months. That's what I said. So, my house isn't even dried out yet, but it is almost there. It took a little bit. It was almost 2 weeks after I discovered the problem before insurance said, okay, yes, we're gonna cover it. Because they needed to know that this wasn't due to lack of me maintaining like proper house temperature. They needed to know that I was doing the best that I could do and that I wasn't neglectful. They also did take into account that I am very new to New England, and I think that helped sway my case. And ultimately they're like, yes, we're going to cover this. And it's very good because this is big. This is very big. So my house was frozen. Like this, that was one of the really good things, is that there was no possible way for mold to grow, because ever since the nothing was usable, right? I could not heat up the house. The house basically lived at close to 29 degrees for like the next 2 months, basically. So ServPro comes in, that they're the water mitigation people. So can I just call them water guys? Drying guys sounds weird because they just have done so much more than that. Anyway, the water people come, and first they have to pack up large portions of my downstairs. And then the demo guys came, and the demo guys, once they were at that point, the water guys, they were like, you know, with how big a job this is going to take like 7 to 10 days to demo and dry. It's been like 5 weeks now, because there were issues. And honestly, I keep thinking, like, if I hadn't gone through the moving company stuff, then I don't know if I would be quite as proactive and nosy and obnoxious as I am with all of this right now. Like, I would still want things to move on, and I would still check in, but I don't think that I would be quite as annoying or direct, or like, I've learned so much over the last year, and like my communication and assertiveness and stuff it's much better now. So let's see. Anyway, they came in, they packed a bunch of stuff up. It's all in my garage now. And I'm like, I walked in and saw everything packed up, and it was like it's disheartening. That's what it was. It was disheartening to see like what I had just unpacked and set up gone again. But because I had already faced the possibility of losing all my stuff because of the moving company, if any of my things had gotten ruined and all of that, like, I don't have to deal with those emotions or those thoughts, because I already faced that emotionally once. And so that part's not been a challenge for me during all of this. Then the demo guys came in and they started working. And then they just kept finding areas that they're like, it's very wet. As soon as they started kind of heating, that was another hang up, was because I didn't have electricity. So we actually had to work with the power company and an electrician to have an isolated form of power without turning the house on. And so that all got taken care of. That was a hang up. And then the demo guys could come in, and they said that once they started working in there and the house was kind of heated up a little bit, things were just like water, like everything was just feeling wet. It's like you could see the water unfreeze, kind of a thing. And I wasn't there for that part. But I did stop in at some point, and ended up, like, I regularly stopped in. I stop in there at least once a week. just to see how things are going and to visually see the state of my house all the time. And oh man, I did not want to wait on that demo one because I knew that was going to be a huge shock, and it was a massive shock. Like knowing that there's going to be a lot of demo and then actually seeing your house in that state they're just different things. But yeah. So I had those emotions to work through, but that's okay. The demo guys took, let's see, I think they had already been there a week and they thought it was going to be another day. It ended up being like 2 or 3 more days after that. And then like 2 of the managers from the water folks came in and just to check that everything had been demoed that got wet, and they found one room still had to get touched. So that took another day after that point. And then we had this huge pause. By this point, let's see, when the water folks were in there doing their like inspection, my insurance adjuster also met with them to, and that was the first time he saw it after the demo. And so, and my contractor, I found a contractor during all of this, and he met with them so that he could be an advocate for me. He's like, a lot of times, like, insurance will try to overlook certain things or not do things, and he's 100% like advocating for all the things with me, for me on my behalf, so I don't have to be the one to do all of that. And so in that meeting with all of them, there was kind of this problem. My contractor had been bringing in, let's see, he brought in an electric guy. He brought in the plumbing guy is also, he does gas, so HVAC plumbing. He does both of those things. And he brought in the inspector from the town. So those 3 guys, he had been bringing them in so that they could be building out estimates and things that for all the repairs and stuff. Well, I guess I was not able to be there at that time, because my living situation, anyway, it doesn't matter right now. I'll explain that later, hopefully. The result of that was like, my contractor was like, all right, so they're going to like demo this last little thing, and then they'll be moving on to the drying port. The adjuster basically told me the same thing. The water guy said nothing. And so like when I went in to see my house the next week, like they had finished up the demo stuff like Monday, I think. And I stopped in on a Thursday and I was like, well, nothing else has happened. But like, why? And so I sent the guy a message, my point of contact, and I was like, check in, like what's going on? Like when is the drying part taking place? Like when am I scheduled for that? He did not respond to me. And so the following week, I like tried to contact him again, and I like couldn't. I had to call the office and tell them that I couldn't get a hold of this guy, and they put him on the phone. That's how I got in contact with him. And he was like, oh, well, we need electricity. We need the heat on in order to dry things out and to get it, do whatever. And they're like, your contractor's taking care of that. And I'm like, no, he's not. My contractor can't do anything. until you guys do your thing. Like, nothing can happen until they're finished. There's no way to heat up the place. And they're like, I'm like, the heat pumps were looked at. They were tested. They are inoperable. Even if we got the electricity hooked up for them, they would not run. You guys have a way to bring in stuff. Like, you did it already once. When the Packers were there, you had to have a way to heat it up for them. You already did that. Bring it back. Like, and they're like, well, it's like this added cost. And this week, that week had been a break week for schools here. And so my insurance adjuster was also out of town. And anyway, so they're like, well, we'll need to get it approved by your insurance, whatever, because it's more cost. Well, I went back to my contractor and I was like, all right, so the water people are saying this. And he was like, that's ridiculous. So I got them to talk to each other, and my contractor set them straight, like basically saying everything I already said. Like, you're going to have to bring in your own stuff. Like, that's why you have stuff. And it's just been a challenge that the water mitigation folks are treating this like a small job, but scaled bigger. And you can't do that. You can't approach a big job like a small job. And so that's been a challenge, because at every step of the way, somebody has had to remind them, you can't do that in this house. We can't do that. You can't have it that way. Like, we can't provide you heat. We can't provide you electricity. We can't provide you water. Like, you can't have that. It's been like, how many times do we have to repeat ourselves? But it is nice that it's not just me who's saying it. My contractor is, the insurance guy is, and everybody listens to the insurance guy. Anyway, so we got that straightened out, and the insurance guy was like, why didn't they just move forward with it? And I was like, I don't know, but they wouldn't move forward on my say-so. They required his say-so. Because I guess it was going to be like an additional dollar amount and whatever, and they're getting paid directly from the insurance people. And I was like, he's going to tell you the same thing. He's going to tell you to get my house dry. Because the longer this goes on, the bigger the chance for mold to grow. Because even though we're in New England and it's been very, very cold, some days we're above freezing. I'm not saying the house is above freezing, because it's not, but some days it is. Anyway, and it delays everything. Like, we need my house dry. Well, they're drying it. This week they started drying it. So they have this trailer that's venting with this like flexible piping tube thing that goes into my bathroom window. And that stays there all the time. And then they have equipment that they bring in and out of the house like every day. I didn't realize that was the case until I was there today for an on-site meeting with some other people, and they were like bringing in the equipment and to set up. And I'm like, you guys have to do that every day? Like, bring in all of this stuff and set up every single day? Like, that sounds annoying. Anyway, there's that. That's been going on. So meanwhile, I've been also having to make all of these decisions. Let's talk about the damage to my house. My entire downstairs is getting a remake, a rebuild, a do-over. Some of the upstairs is. Yeah. So what happened was there was a pipe. We're pretty certain this was ground zero. I knew it was coming from the upstairs bathroom based on the sound and the water. and everything. And it was the second floor bathroom that we weren't using because we don't have heat upstairs, and it wasn't a very good bathroom and it needed attention. A pipe in the floor like separated, so that could have been it froze and burst open, or it could have just been old and came apart. But if it froze even a little bit, that could have been enough for it to separate. And yeah, I didn't have a way to monitor the temperatures on the second level, but I kind of thought that heat rises, right? So if the basement and the first floor had good temperatures, then the second floor should have, and that was not the case. Anyway, so this pipe separates in the flooring, like underneath the shower, and the water like comes down through there. The ceiling it comes through was a tin ceiling that had a patch on it, and so the patch was the weakest point. So the water came through and it just like poured through it. Obviously, it also spread through a lot of other spaces. It came down onto the first floor, spread into the room that Kaylin had been using, spread a little bit into the living room, which I had been using, and then into the kitchen. And then wherever throughout like the ceilings that it spread out through. Anyway, the kitchen got gutted, the dining room got gutted, the Kaylin's room got gutted, and the only reason, well, the living room is partially gutted. It will end up getting gutted except for probably the outside, the external walls in those two rooms, because those didn't get water damage. It's probably very badly insulated, but since insurance isn't covering it, we're not sure if we're going to open up those walls. We're going to have to see about that still. The damage to the house. Oh, and the upstairs bathroom is gutted. Not fully gutted, actually. The parts of it came out, but because it happened in the flooring, they cut out like a portion of the floor. They took out the shower and a portion of the flooring in the hallway. But it will get gutted and redone as part of all of this. So my entire first floor is getting taken care of. But when everything got opened up, it showed that there's an old electricity system being used still. It is not safe. It is not a safe system, which is why it's not in use anymore. I didn't hear about it until I was house hunting in New England, but it's called knob and tube wiring, and it's basically these things that are like, okay, if this is like your floor joist, it's like screwed into here. It's like, I don't know if it's plastic, but it looks like a plastic thing screwed here. And then like there's just wires. It's not a covered wire or anything, but wires are just like wrapped around them and they go throughout the house and everything. And they cause fires, house fires. So when I bought the house, there was exposed knob and tube down in the basement that was not active. And I was required to get that removed. The seller did that. The seller was required to get that removed before the house could be sold to me. So that happened. But we opened up all of these walls because of this problem and found active, like the house is wired with knob and tube. That's just still active. So there were other things, like other places that had gotten electric work done. So there's 2 or 3 different kinds of electricity running through my house. Not kinds of electricity, but electrical work that had been done and is running throughout the house, and none of it is good. The town doesn't require electric permits or, I guess, inspections, but they do care about plumbing. Well, I pulled permits for my house. I went to the town hall and I asked to see my file. There's like 2 pieces of paper in there, and it's like from the 80s. It's as old as I am, and it's to move. I think it was like a barn structure that they moved on the property, and then there's another one for getting that like removed and they put in a garage. So it's like the 80s and the 90s kind of time years. There's no other permit work done in there. So, but there's very clearly work that had been done in the house, both plumbing and electric. So I had talked to the inspector guy, and I was like, is there anything I need to do about all of this? And he was like, no, it's already done and you're not at fault for it, so there's nothing that you need to do. However, he's now been there to see the house and is like, yeah, this is crappy. We're gonna do it right. So my entire house has to be rewired for electricity because of all the active knob and tube wiring that we're seeing on the first floor. That means it's also on the second floor. So my contractor had sent over the electric quote to my insurance adjuster, and he was like, but it's so high, why? And my contractor was like, look, the new panel has to go in, and we have to rewire all of this because of the knob and tube, and they're not going to allow us to put knob and tube wiring and attach it to a new panel. So we have to get rid of all the knob and tube. So even the places that didn't get water damaged, they have to get replaced because the panel has to get replaced and upgraded, and all of these things. And the insurance guy was like, okay. On the heating side, we're going to get the system for the baseboard heating all updated and upgraded and working. The furnace itself will not be covered because that broke before. However, my contractor went to the insurance and was like, look, even though the furnace was already broken and the system was not being used, all of the rest of the system was in place and is damaged because of this. And so that part needs to be covered. And the insurance was like, that's right. So that's getting covered, and that's going to get updated, and that's going to get taken care of probably throughout the entire house as well, because the system was all affected because of that. Also, opening up the house showed plumbing that was not up to code either. Somebody like cut through a weight-bearing beam to plumb through it, and so now that has to get extra support and everything. So what I've been doing lately is working, like making sure everything still moves forward with whatever step is currently happening, but also like I'm at the point where I'm getting my mortgage company involved because of the money process with insurance and everything, and then making the decisions that must be made going into the rebuild. So last week I went with my contractor. Kaylin was with me. We went to the flooring and cabinetry place that he works with. It's a local company. Oh, I mean, it's local. It's like 30 minutes from where I currently am situated. But that's pretty much local for around here. And great guys. So we went in there and we picked out all of these materials. I had to pick out all the materials, and they were like, you could take this back to your house and like see what you think of it in the space. And I'm like, well, I'm not matching any existing things. Like, I was like, it's gutted. We can't check lighting because there is no lighting. There's no electricity. There's no water. There's nothing existing. There's no walls. There's no floor. Guys, they had to get rid of like 3 layers of flooring to get down to the bottom. It was like, instead of leveling the floor, they just put another subfloor and then like another kind of flooring over it. And then in the kitchen, it was like the same thing. And the ceiling, like they had the ceiling, and then instead of like removing the ceiling, they just like dropped it down and like installed another ceiling over it. Anyway, so many things. But I'm like, there's nothing for me to match this except with each other. So taking it into my space is gonna do nothing that I can't do here. But within 2 hours, we had flooring, tile, backsplash, cabinet style and color, and tile for the bathroom upstairs also all figured out. Like, we made all those decisions within 2 hours, and they're like, you guys are so decisive and easygoing. My daughter pointed out, we're just picky. Like, it was so easy. Like, we knew vaguely what kind of color flooring we wanted. We had talked about it. We even had gone to Home Depot to get kind of ideas already of what we liked together. And so it was really easy. We actually picked out only 4 kinds of flooring, and then it was kind of a clear winner for us. And then we just branched off of that. And once we found the thing that worked with whatever we were looking at, it like clicked into place and just felt completely right. It was very easy to pass by things that we were like, nope. We had very few like, well, maybe this, ultimately, no matter what aspect we were looking at. So today I met with my contractor, the flooring guy, and the kitchen guy. I hadn't met the kitchen guy yet, but he's at the same place as the flooring guy. So I met them on site so they could take measurements, but I could also discuss the layout and the changes that were going to be happening with the house because of this. And so a lot of those decisions are what I've been working with. I needed to have kind of an idea of a very basic idea for my kitchen floor plan so that they could do their like floor plan mock-up using the things that I had picked out and all of this. So I worked through that with the kitchen guy today. I knew kind of what I wanted, and then I said, and then he had even more questions that I wasn't prepared for, like drawers versus shelves versus drawers that come out. I was like, oh, I didn't know I needed those decisions made for today. So I wasn't really sure, but everyone that I've been working with has been fantastic and is really good at giving me like pros and cons, making sure that whatever I do say is what I want, that they like figure that out and work with it. So we landed on a really good layout in the kitchen. No more walking in and having like 2 feet of space to maneuver around this huge island right upon walking in, and all like it's going to be so much better. So much better when all of this is done. Like the downstairs bathroom, because the upstairs bathroom is getting a makeover and all of the heating and everything's getting a makeover, the upstairs bathroom is going to be like our main bathroom now. And so the downstairs, when I can take out the shower that was in there, because the shower was little and the sink space was like your width because of where all the placement, and then the toilet was like the door opened up and you had to like go around it weirdly in order to get to the toilet. It was not great. And that's also where the laundry is. So like there's going to be some changes in there, some changes in the upstairs bathroom, because I can make all of these choices, which is fantastic, but also super overwhelming when you're not prepared. I even have to think about the master bathroom situation, which is like all messed up anyway. Like that one was never finished. They didn't even have plumbing for a toilet in there, like, which was confirmed when all of the downstairs was opened up. There is no plumbing for a toilet. Like, why would you put together a bathroom and not plan for a toilet? They don't have anything for a sink either. Just like a shower. They were like, oh, a shower and a tub. What else do you need? A full bathroom if you're going to. Anyway, so I've had to think about the layout with that bathroom and how I'm going to do that so that we can get the plumbing into place now. And it's just going to create a better master bathroom and bedroom situation overall. And I can think big. That's the thing. With all of this stuff, I'm not trying, like, there's very few constraints I have because insurance is paying replacement costs for any materials that were lost. So any areas where there were hardwood floors are going to be priced at hardwood floor pricing, but I'm not using hardwood. I'm getting a laminate LVP is what they're calling it. It's a laminate flooring. It's a very good laminate flooring. It's going to be great for my pets and it's going to be great for us because it's got a little bit of a give to it, so it's nice to walk on. The tin ceilings, I'm not putting in tin ceilings again, but tin ceiling is expensive. There was also tin on the walls, so not everywhere, but lots of places. So I'm getting that cost, but I can use it however I want to in this rebuild process. So that's how we're working this. So I've been able to think holistically. I'm not just thinking about the kitchen. I'm thinking about the entire downstairs, right? If you were doing a kitchen remodel, you might be thinking like, within this one space, what can I do? But I'm not thinking that. And so we're actually bringing down this wall and bringing bringing these two rooms to be one. But then like the room that Kaylin had been using, which was a smallish room, is going to also get opened up into the living room. And then between that side of the house and the other room was also like weird jagged walls. That's going to get opened up and be like this really nice arched doorway now. So it's going to be really nice when it's done, but it's a lot of decisions that I have to make now. And I don't always, everyone is being very good about telling me when it's time for me to make another decision and to start thinking about something because this is coming up, and to also offer like different suggestions. Like the kitchen guy, he was like, well, I like things to look like this, but a lot of people also like this. And he was like, what do you want here? And I was like, I've never thought about this, but yeah, so he was able to ask the questions that would give him the information from me to then be able to say when he makes his mock-up, with different kinds of cabinetry. And then when I go in, which I'll be going in next week, and Kaylin will be with me that time, we're going to go into the store. They're going to have a catalog of different cabinetry options, not like the front of it, but like which cabinets or drawer units get used, that kind of a thing. And any changes we want to make, we can work with it right then and there, and they can make it in real time. And it's they make it so it's in CAD, and it creates this 3D rendering that we'll be able to maneuver and see from all different angles. And you can even like open up you can click it and it opens up the doors and the drawers and stuff like that, so you can even see that kind of spacing everywhere. So he did all the measurements, and he was like, he knows widths of cabinets and things like that, and even like standard different sink widths and stuff, which I didn't even think of. He was like, you don't want anything like a farmhouse sink or anything, right? And I was like, no, I don't think that's the right fit for this. And so we were able to figure out more or less so that what I was going to want, so that he could get me close. And then the next time I go in next week, we'll finalize it. And then cabinetry will take like 4 to 6 weeks to come in. And we were kind of talking about the time frame for all of this. And right now, nothing can move forward until the water mitigation people are done and insurance approves the electric and plumbing, like that part, those estimates and things like that. Those two things are kind of coming out of a different part of my insurance policy. I don't know what it specifically it's called, but my insurance adjuster was referring to it as coding. So because these systems are no longer up to code, they actually never were up to code, but that's another story. But because the water damage prevents them from being up to code for sure, then it's coming out of this part of my policy that will pay for bringing it up to code. And I'm very well covered there, so it should all get covered and taken care of with what my policy has. So that's good to know. And we haven't even touched on personal effects, because there are personal effects that are going to have to be covered by my insurance. But that's a different part of my policy yet again. Is that. So we're not even there yet. So here we are 2 months after I discovered it, and that's the state of things. It is, if you want to see pictures, the best place to go is my Facebook. Find me on Facebook. Everything is public there. You don't have to friend me, but you can feel free to friend me if you want to. I am totally fine with that. What else have I not covered? That's the state of my house as it is. The work needs to be done by the end of this year in order for me to get 100% of the insurance money. They hold back 10% of all funds until the work is complete. So that's the deadline. That's the maximum deadline for all of this. But it hopefully will not take that long. But if it does, we're situated. So long as my house is deemed unlivable, insurance will pay for my additional housing. So where I am right now is an Airbnb. It's really close to our dance studio. So we are 15 minutes north of my house right now. But the dance studio is really the only activity I needed to be close to. So dance classes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I have the Airbnb Monday through Thursday. We have to check out Monday or Thursday morning, but class isn't until 4 o'clock on Thursday. At least it's her early class, so that's why this works. So Thursday we leave here, we go out to eat, we spend a really long time at our breakfast place, and then we figure out what else we're gonna do for the day. Sometimes I have to meet with people at the house or somewhere else. Sometimes we go window shopping. Sometimes we have gone to Starbucks and just sat there and put together off-brand Lego kits, little succulent plants. We've played Monopoly, but also we've had a lot of snowstorms on Thursdays, so I've also driven home early, or driven to New Hampshire early the last 3 Thursdays because of snowstorms. Or 3 of the 4. I don't even know. It's been so many. So that's where we are. And then after her dance class is over, we drive to New Hampshire, a 2-hour drive. And then we're there until Monday, where we come back and do it all over again. So all my pets are so happy when I'm back there. They sit on me, they're next to me, they are the dogs want to play with me, they want me to pet them, they want all my attention. And the cats are the same way. They're every opportunity to sit on my lap, they will, or they will sit on the couch behind me, or at least one of them sleeps on the bed next to my head. Sometimes I wake up and I have 2 cats. I miss them the rest of the time, but this is the best situation for everybody. So that's how it is. Our Airbnb hosts are fantastic. They wished me happy birthday. There was one time a snowstorm happened, and when the guy was out brushing off the cars and salting, we're above the garage in this unit, and so we have to walk up quite a bit of steps to get up here. And so he was salting the steps and the driveway. He also brushed off my car. It was just nice little things like that. We now have an ice thing right outside the door, so that, because we're kind of in this time period weather-wise where it'll warm up enough for things to start dripping and melting, and then it freezes at night. And so and we're doing a lot of our ins and outs in the evenings, and so it's been helpful to have the salt right there for any time that we need to get up and down the stairs safely. So that's been good. Yeah. But when you've stayed somewhere too long, that's not your place, when you walk in the door and you're oh yay, it's our favorite bedspread on the bed. Or we look in their log and we go, oh, somebody stayed here over the weekend. Yeah. So they've been fantastic hosts, and it's been really good to just have one place that we're going to and one place for our weekend, to help decrease the stimulation and stuff. So maybe next time I'll show you some of the crafting things we're doing. I'll call it a floss tube, but I've done very, very little stitching, and what stitching I've done, I have no access to. But I have been working on this diamond painting that I showed you. And I have 2 other diamond paintings I can work on, but I haven't started or anything yet. I do have 1 cross-stitch project that I snagged from the construction zone recently, but I haven't touched it. It's the Phoenix one, the stamped kit Phoenix one that I had before. Oh, just some other craft things that aren't either crochet, my crochet blanket that I've been working on, a mechanical dragon thing. Like, it's kind of all over the place in terms of crafting. So craft tube, but we'll call it floss tube, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know, but one day I'll show you. I'll show you what I've been up to, I suppose. And hopefully now we'll keep up to date better on. I'll post better. We might have like terrible lighting like we do right now, but we'll make it work. My brain has been in terrible shape lately. It'll go through periods where it declines and then it gets better, but right now it's just been declining, and it's been a challenge. My medication, I can kind of choose my dosage, and so like I can take a low dosage for like regular days, but in high stress times I have to double that amount. It's like I personally have exceeded the limitations of my medication. So I can tell things like that, and I can work with that. But when my brain is just in decline, there's not really much I can do about that. And I can tell when I can't focus, I can't read, sometimes it's hard to craft. I just want to play like stupid, nonsensical games on my phone, and I just search for like dumb things that I can do. Been playing Roblox with Kaylin a lot. And we've been playing Final Fantasy 14 lately a bit. Steven. And sometimes Minecraft is involved too, so there's that. But yeah, it takes a lot to be traveling back and forth. But like, we have it down to a science. Like, we know exactly how to pack to come, and what we're packing right now. We don't it's not like even like we have that many options, but you know, we've been wearing the same like 2 outfits during the week and the same 2 outfits during the weekend, like a different 2 outfits, but you know. And yeah, we have the ability to cook and stuff in both places, but you can only get so much like fresh foods at either place because you're going to be moving again. And so there's that. There's just like a lot of space that's taken up in all of that, and then to add on making all the house decisions and making sure things are moving forward. And then there's been school that's been happening, which has actually been going pretty well lately. It hasn't always, but we've figured out how to do it. The problem is she's finishing her current math book, and I don't have her next math book. I don't know how to find her next math book. I don't know if it's in the boxes that got are just in my living room, or if they are in the boxes that got put in my garage. But I can't figure it out yet, because things are not in a state for me to get into the living room things to look, or into the garage. Like, my driveway gets plowed and gets pushed up to the garage doors, and it's a challenge to get in there also. But there's a lot of stuff in the garage now, and I didn't pack any of it up, so I don't know. Like, it's labeled with what room it was in, so that narrows it down, but it's a challenge. So anyway, but that's been working out. I'm trying to think of what else can I say. I have fallen on ice twice. Once was during Christmas break, right around Christmas. I fell down Stephen's porch stairs. I had been going in and out several times, and it was like my last trip out that my feet flew, and I hit my back real bad against one of the stair rungs, and it was the weirdest feeling to literally not be able to breathe, like not be able to make your lungs go in or out for a bit. That was really weird. So I had some recovery time for that, and there's like this one remaining spot on my back that took a really long time to heal, and I can still feel it when I move it in very certain ways. And I did aggravate them again on my second fall, which kind of just happened this last weekend. But I landed forward, and it was more like one hand was up on snow and one was down on the ground. And so I think it was just like the twist of that kind of aggravated that one spot, but I didn't like hit my head or anything. I got like a huge bruise somewhere. My arm maybe? I can't even remember. No, it was my back. It was my lower back. Not even the place. I think I hit my back on the stairs, 2 different stairs, and the upper back is the one that hurt really bad, but the lower back is the one that got the big bruise. So there's that. Anyway, that's my life story. It's taken over an hour and a half to tell you, but it's also been 6 months of more busy and crazy and chaos, and like, life is gonna settle down kind of at some point, right? Like, I can continue like lowering stress at some point and having some sense of normal. Like, this is become normal, but I don't want it to be. I want to be able to, I like that my weekends at least I get to spend with Stephen. He's been incredible and amazing. And I'm very happy with that. I'm glad that my pets can be there, and that I know that they're being taken care of, and while I'm not there with them. And I'm glad that things here are getting taken care of, like with my house, and that Kaylin's school is getting taken care of, and dance is going really well. Like, the beginning of the school year or the dance year was rough, being a new studio and everything. There's a lot to get through, but this season has been going so well for her. I guess the only other thing is my grandmother died a couple nights ago, so that's throwing in, like, right now, today I've been working a lot on getting travel arrangements so that I can go. This is a couple years ago, my grandfather died, and this is his wife. So he was she was Chinese, and she got pneumonia somewhat recently, but like never, I think it was early this winter, but it could have been last winter actually. And she just never really recovered, but also she was very, very old and very frail already, and just declined. She had been with my parents over the summer, and then since she went from my parents to my aunt and uncle who live in Utah. All their children live in Utah also, and several of my other cousins are also there. So since the summer, my grandmother has been there, and I'm just really glad she got to see a lot of family for the times when she was able. She's been on oxygen lately, and it made going anywhere difficult, and she was also very tired and going to sleep most of the day. But when she was awake, she was able to have visits from my cousins and their kids, and she loved it. So I'm very happy that those were her last months, was over the summer, spending that with my parents, but also my brother and his family, and my sister and her family that are nearby. I got to see my grandmother a couple summers ago. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, so her final decline was very, very quick, very fast. Like my aunt said to message, like, get your visits in, like, get in to see her, and then a couple days later, the decline started, and within a couple hours she was gone. So today has been spent both that meeting at my house with flooring and kitchen, but then also making travel arrangements for her funeral, which will be out in California. Yeah, and that is to my mother's parents are both still living, but this is my dad's mom, and I think my grandmother has one more sibling. There were 8 of them, and there's one more sibling who is living. There were 3 of them. 2 summers ago, there were 3 of them, and one passed a couple months ago. My grandmother couldn't attend the funeral because she was not up for it, being in Utah and having to go back to California. So there was not that, but there's one other, I think, that's still alive from her family. So yeah, well, hopefully this kept you company for almost 2 hours. It's hard to, it's just been hard. It's been a lot, but I don't know. In many ways, I'm still I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. And I think that's just because I'm stable. Like, my living situation is definitely not settled at this point, but one day it will be, and it's going to be good. My house is going to be in so much better condition than it was when I bought it. And one day when I go to resell it, I'm going to be able to resell it for so much more than I bought it for, and that's going to be nice. But we're not there yet. So, yeah, I'm not going to make any promises on what the next video is, since it took me 6 months to get back to this. But I've been wanting to film since, like, in December. I was like, all right, when things have settled down after Christmas break, like in January we're gonna film somewhat regularly, and then obviously that didn't happen because of all of this. So I make no promises. The best way, obviously, I see comments through here, and I do try to respond to them. Instagram, there's that way. What else do I have? Oh, Facebook. Facebook has been where I've been long form journaling, I guess you could say. Documenting this whole process. So if you're on Facebook, that is a good place to see all of that and to stay connected that way. I miss our live streams, guys. I miss all of you. I want to know what's going on in your lives too, and I just don't. I know very little anyway. But know that you guys have been thought of, many times, and I miss what we had. So maybe one day we'll get back to it, but like, I don't have my stands. They're all packed up again, and I don't know where. And everything's weird right now. So we haven't gotten out of everything's weird for a long time. But one day, maybe we will. Maybe I'll show you my house like I showed it to you before my stuff arrived. I never showed it to you when I was like kind of settled into it. But now it's gutted. So, I don't know, maybe I'll take you around there while this whole process is going, because why not? I don't know. I love you all. I'm gonna sign off now and get this posted, and we'll just see. We'll see how this goes, but much love to you. Bye.